Welcome to Learning Unit number 4. In Learning Unit number 4, we're starting going through the 10 Caritas processes of Gene Watson. And we're going to focus on the first and second Caritas processes, as well as we're going to be talking about resiliency and burnout. But there is a course in this program on resiliency. Some of you have already taken it, others have not. So we're just going to go through some slightly different information about burnout that you all will, I think, find interesting. So we can go through the topics and objectives. And I just want to make one comment about this because you can read this at another time. But as far as our readings for the week, they are chapters 5 and 6. But chapter 5, I have you ending at page 55. And there's a reason for that. At the end of the content, when the authors are finished kind of giving us information about a specific Caritas process, then they go into a section within that chapter called that specific Caritas process for chapter 5, it's Caritas process number 1 in action. So it's like an example of the application of this Caritas process. And some of them are excellent, and some I didn't find as helpful. So the first one in this chapter on page 52 is about St. Anthony Community Hospital, and it tells about how they put Caritas process number 1 into action. And I think it's really beneficial and a nice review. So that's why I have you going through through page 55. Otherwise, I wasn't so thrilled with some of the other examples. And for chapter 6, I didn't myself find any really beneficial Caritas process number 2 in action examples. So I just wrote down that the required reading is just the new content, pages 63 to 67. That doesn't mean that you won't find something very interesting and helpful. So feel free to scan through those. But I just wanted to tell you I've tried to shorten your readings for the week. So let's go on, and instead of going through all of the information here, let's go on to looking at the actual items. So you're watching this video. There is a very short prayer that really, I think, helps lay the foundation for us being open to Caritas process number 1. And then I also felt both that Caritas process number 1 and 2 really kind of blended with what our former Pope, Pope Francis, who more recently died, what he had written about lessons on love and burnout. So I hope you, so a kind of a Buddhist perspective and a Catholic perspective, but it's a spiritual perspective as I see it. This is my favorite video. If you click on, you can see it's a TEDx talk, and that's important for you because this is giving you an example right in this learning unit of something else that you're going to be doing this week. And it is of a nurse and learning the discipline of caring. Her one quote really spoke to me. We spend a lot of time in nursing education about how to do our job, how to be a nurse, how to do our job, and not very much in how to be in our job. So it's an excellent video. It is absolutely my favorite. So I hope it gets you as excited as I am by watching that. And then the next is an article, Show Me You Care. And it is also asking, the author asks a question that you're going to respond to in the discussion board. And that's, what's your currency? So I feel like I'm a commercial. What's in your whatever? Um, I thought this was a really neat type of article. And then the next is it's 16 pages, but a lot of it is data, and that's from Press Ganey. And I downloaded it for you. You can access this online. You just have to. It's a short ebook, but I thought it was an excellent summary of information, and it really speaks to decompression and activation. And that's what I want you to take out of it, is understanding what decompression is and why Press Ganey is saying, based on the data, that healthcare organizations and leaders really must prioritize decompression. So we will look at that more. There's an executive summary, an intro to resilience, and the way they define it, I think, is very helpful. So for those who have already gone through the resilience course, I do believe you're going to find this information of benefit. So as we look through it, they give you an executive summary. Then they start with the state of nursing as of 2024, so last year's data, very timely, and that there is reason for optimism, but there are also opportunities. So introducing us to resilience, they're looking at resilience as being comprised of two components, decompression and activation. Please make sure you're understanding these concepts so that you can apply these concepts. And they're very basic. Decompression is the ability to disconnect from work, and activation is the degree to which nurses connect to the meaning of their work. So this is the way that they're looking at resilience, and I really like it. I find it very powerful and able to be applied. So again, a little bit more of the Press Ganey surveys. What are the questions that measured activation and decompression? Please read through more data as far as resilience by generation, and previously across the last few years, pre-pandemic to post-pandemic, and then by gender, and then looking at the concept of activation and decompression by gender, resilience by employment status. And I think we can all understand that full-timers have the lowest rates of resilience, and per diems have the highest. I think we can understand that as far as work-life balance, but they look at it through, the lens of decompression and activation. And so what are ways that we can apply resilience and avoid burnout? And they look at decompression huddles. And that's what I really liked, that here is a way to go about building resilience by these decompression huddles. So I'll let you look through them, even 5 essentials, how to make it happen. And so that is the Press Ganey information that is relatively new. I know it's 2024 information, but that's absolutely new. And one of my favorites is Dan Harris. And here's a video by Dan Harris and what he's going to take us through about a loving kindness, or a metta meditation, to benefit us all. And it's a 2-pager, it's the evidence-based care sheet on assessing burnout. that I think might be helpful too, especially as you're doing your leadership praxis assignment number 2. And this Maslow burnout inventory, the MBI tool, is a free tool that we can use, and leaders and educators can use this tool. It is introduced in the course on resilience. But if you're interested in some of the questions and just this tool, and perhaps looking at what your rate of burnout is, go ahead and take it. You're not going to be sharing this with anybody. It really is optional, but I love to look at tools because then I really get a better understanding of how they're defining burnout. And then also, how is that impacting on me as far as what is my burnout rate? So then the discussion board is going to be, there will be no replies to either discussion board or the Caritas process. There is no replies required this week because you're going to be busy enough looking through the information. And this is your chance to respond to the author of Show Me You Care. And that's Bree Becker, when she asks the question, what's your currency? So please support your response with some of the other learning activities, but it gives us a chance not to just read an article and hear somebody else's opinion about what their currency is, but to think about it, reflect on it, and share what your currency is. And the Cultivating Caritas, it says one reply. There is no replies. I will change that. But the concept this week is practice of loving kindness with self. So again, a photograph, an image, a mandala of your, and I love the self-created art, but any of them that express this week's concept, practice of loving kindness with self. No replies are required. That will change. And then the final piece is you've done leadership praxis number 1, and in learning unit number 3, you have submitted that, and that was using ScreenPal. This is another one that's going to use ScreenPal. And so I posted the directions again here. You can find all this information under your leadership praxis assignments, but I just copied the info here. So you can access it either way. So at the end of this learning unit, you're going to have your Dropbox for the assignment number 2. So what is that assignment? To quickly go over it, it is you're developing a TEDx talk video. You're being limited to 5 minutes. You're going to do it via ScreenPal, and this will be shared in a future learning unit of this course. Probably not Learning Unit 5, probably Learning Unit 6, but they will be shared, and which is really exciting. But you're going to talk about integrative nursing principle number 6, which we reviewed all the integrative nursing principles in learning unit number 3. But number 6 states integrative nursing focuses on the health and well-being of caregivers as well as those they serve. So we know that this really speaks to our Caritas processes of this week. So you're going to start your video by introducing yourself, give yourself your title, either your current title or a title that you want to have in the future. Share an example of a nurse leader practice indicator or a practice indicative of integrative nursing principle number 6. For example, how will you as a nurse help to incorporate a specific self-care practice into the workday of the nurses that you lead? One example that you're learning about is a decompression huddle. Maybe you want to go through that and really be skilled and in reading it and thinking about it. So maybe you're going to do your video on decompression huddles. It can be all kinds of things. Maybe you're doing a different way of a specific practice, but as a nurse and as a nurse leader, how will you help to incorporate whatever practice you want into the workday, and why would that be important? So, as Kreitzer, the author of the Six Integrative Nursing Principles, states, is above all, these principles are practical. They address what nurses do and why they do it. So I want you to now make this principle number 6 practical. How are you going to use it? Through a screen pal video you're going to share with us. Make it 3 to 5 minutes. If you go a little bit over, that's fine, but try to keep it within that 3 to 5 minutes. Be creative and make sure you're citing at least 2 sources in your example, and you're doing that verbally. So that is the integrative nursing principle assignment number 2. And again, the Dropbox, everything is within that folder. And no replies to the discussion board and Caritas process. This is optional, but you may want to look at your rate of burnout. An excellent video that if you can't get to it this week, by all means, save it so you can listen. It goes along with your leadership praxis assignment number 1 that you've just done. This is really essential for this week. So is this. And the video just gives us a fantastic example of a nurse doing a TEDx talk, and she does it beautifully. Have a great week.